got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If you wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed 'em. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon.
All right, we're rolling.
What?
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be
All
a
right,
bad day.
here we are.
Yeah, I'm tired of shit.
Another edition of Broish.
That was a very librarian-esque opening.
Well, there was a lot of music, if you didn't hear it. Maybe some library music. Hey, welcome to another edition of Broish. I'm your host, Mannix, and my brother Clutch. And if anybody is listening or watching, sorry we weren't around last week. Had some difficulties, and then we could not get back into the studio to re-record. But we talked a lot about the transfer portal. We talked a lot about possibilities for a bowl game for Notre Dame. Well, now the portal has officially opened, right, Clutch? I don't know how long. We're not going to argue that point anymore. But it's open, and it'll be open for at least 30 days, right?
Something like that.
And then an extra 5 days, for those bowl teams that are playing in the bowl playoff system, whatever, the 4-team playoff. So anyways, long story short, Notre Dame, because Georgia lost against Alabama, it pushed Notre Dame from the Pop-Tart Bowl, maybe. I don't know. There was another bowl there too that they might have played in. There was a good possibility that they were still going to play LSU at that point, but once Georgia got upset by Alabama, Notre Dame got the shit bowl. The El Paso, what is it? What's the official name of the El Paso Bowl?
It's not the Pop-Tart Bowl?
No. Pop-Tart Bowl is in Orlando. I don't know, but it's such a shitty bowl, and obviously not a shitty place. I mean, El Paso, it's nice. Paso's nice, it's right on the Rio Grande, right? Is it on the Rio Grande? Right,
I
right
don't
on
know.
the
I've never
border.
been there. Can't say it's nice or bad. All I can say is that you can drink beer in your car and drive, and it's probably legal because it's El Paso is in Texas, right?
It's in I think it's on the border. It's a border town. They're dealing with a lot of immigrants right now.
Okay, so it's not the Pop-Tart Bowl, but
No.
it might as well be because it's the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl.
Oh yeah, there we are. Tony the Tiger.
Tony the Tiger, and he got excited when Notre Dame got picked up for that bowl.
Yeah, apparently the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl or whatever it is, they did not expect that Notre Dame would have been picked to play in their bowl and did not have a gold helmet available to basically promote the fact that they'll be playing Oregon State with their third string quarterback, the Beavers. Yeah, well, again, Notre Dame's going to be playing with their second string quarterback. Looks like Steve Angeli, Peanut Butter and Jelly, is going to be starting. Sam Hartman, who hasn't officially said he's not playing, but the word is that he heard that that's the bowl game that was dealt to Notre Dame, and he said, "You know what? I'm good."
He's not playing it?
No.
I did not hear that. Oh, that's news.
It's unofficial from, I don't know where that comes from. So somebody has a source, but it wasn't sexy enough for Sam Hartman to stroke his beard and comb his hair.
Well, he'd have to shave because it's too hot down there probably for that hairstyle.
That's true too. Right?
Right.
So
yeah. I always thought the Sun Bowl was going to be in Arizona, but I guess not. So I guess the sun also shines in El Paso. So I learned something new today.
Yeah, well, it kind of sucks. I don't know. It's, you know what? It's an 11 o'clock game on a Friday. I'll be on vacation for Christmas, so I'll get to watch it. I think we had talked about going down to South Bend. I still plan on doing that. So I might be hanging out with you or whatever on the 29th. And then going and maybe going to watch some Notre Dame basketball on the 30th. So
who are they playing? Who are they playing?
On the 30th?
Yeah.
Not sure.
Yeah.
It's not Citadel, right? That's their next game.
I don't remember. I have to look at their schedule.
Could be the Citadel.
You shifted gears on me too quickly. I was going to bring up the transfer portal.
No, bring it up because that's where I was actually circling back to the transfer portal. Right now, Notre Dame still has not signed a quarterback from the transfer portal. All signs that I've read about had pointed to Riley Leonard from Duke. What are you hearing, Clutch?
Well, I think they want to evaluate his injuries. He's got multiple injuries that they need to look at, so they're trying to make sure that they're not going to affect him when he comes over. So,
I didn't hear that.
Well, he hurt his he had a high ankle sprain in the Notre Dame game, and then he hurt his toe. I think in a few games later.
Okay,
that was turf toe or what?
So he came back at some point in the season. So okay. Everyone's saying this guy is going to be a first-round pick in the NFL draft. So maybe he doesn't want to come to Notre Dame because that could ruin things, right? I mean, they said that Sam Hartman was the best quarterback coming out of the transfer portal this last year, and I don't know. I don't think it was the best quarterback. So, anyways, long story short, there's a lot of players that won't be playing. Joe Alt's not playing.
Have we heard anything about Estime yet?
Estime is not playing. From what
I've heard. You sure about that? It's been
I haven't heard any official word from any of these guys, but I mean, it sure sounds like it. I mean, everything that I've read.
I think it's recently, because people are assuming, and I haven't heard them say a peep yet. There has been no announcement. Unless there's some strategy with announcing after the transfer portal closes or something like that. But until I hear more definitive news, normally that comes out, I think, right away. But if not, there's a slight chance that people need to start checking themselves and thinking, hey, he's going to play in the bowl game. And if he's going to play in the bowl game, he's probably going to come back next year.
That's a strong possibility.
But I think everybody just assumes. And I think and I just thought of this. People's opinions or sports writers' opinions are starting to change with this whole with this whole transfer portal. You know, teams can switch it up pretty quick just by shopping through the transfer portal and losing players as well. But I don't think their opinion of this guy's he's not playing in the bowl because he's a junior and he did so good last year. He's going to go pro. With NIL, they need to maybe check themselves and make sure that they don't just assume that anymore because that may not be the fact. And I think that's where we're sitting right now. I could be totally wrong. Estimate may announce tomorrow. But it's just weird we haven't heard
You're right. I mean, I'm looking at the news and I can't find anything that says, I mean, I'm kind of reading through something from like 4 days ago. It says Notre Dame running back Audric Estime and tackles Joe Alt and Blake Fisher are the offensive players with decisions to make on their future. Alt is all but a lock to declare for the draft. As we know, Blake Fisher declared for this draft this past week or whatever, and he won't be at the bowl game. Which is strange too. Blake Fisher is kind of a weird, I thought he was touted as probably being better than Joe Alt coming in. And he was actually, I think, a higher rated recruit than Joe Alt was. And and he's not as high of a offensive lineman. I know Joe Alt was in the running for best offensive lineman, and he actually lost tonight to a Texas offensive lineman, which was ridiculous. So I forget the name of that.
What he lost what?
It's the offensive lineman of the year.
Oh, He lost an award. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So, but what I was getting at is the fact that, like, these guys are just like how good these offensive linemen are for Notre Dame. He was an All-American. Joe Alt was selected as an All-American. Blake Fisher wasn't. So I don't think Blake Fisher maybe like 4th, 5th round, maybe 6th round draft pick.
Yeah, I mean, if you see the writing on the wall and say, offensive line coach is gone that we had for all those years, I'm not digging it here anymore. I'm an offensive lineman. Am I really going to go in the transfer portal and better my situation at Notre Dame, or should I just go in the draft and get on a team and get going with my career? It's one of those things now.
I think like you said, I think offensive linemen, there's not much of a choice. I think you every single time you declare for the draft, because I think your chances are that you're going to be on a team. I don't know. Nothing is guaranteed.
Right.
But I do remember a couple of Notre Dame offensive linemen that were free agents, and they ended up starting. One for the Lions. What's his name? I forget his name, though. Recently, in the last couple of years. Didn't stick around, though. He's not a part of the team anymore. But still, I think you're pretty safe as an offensive lineman if you're getting into your junior, senior year and you're thinking about maybe just sticking around to better yourself, or maybe going, to become a graduate transfer and go on somewhere else. Why not just, declare for the draft?
Yeah.
As an offensive lineman, you should. So I don't fault Blake Fisher at all. I think that that was really his move, and he decided, hey, I'm going, and you know what? He'll probably do well. He'll probably be in the NFL for a long time.
Right. Well, some of the Notre Dame players look like they've already found teams. We've got Nanaz already at TCU. Tyree went to Virginia. Correll's going to North Carolina State. They picked up this FIU guy, this Chris Mitchell guy, in wide receiver.
So that guy's got a ton of catches. What do you have, like 60? Did he have like 67 catches last year?
Let me see.
He had like 1,100 yards. It's Florida International, still D1, whatever. He's caught more balls than I think the leading receiver for Notre Dame, though. So, and we have another receiver that's starting he's actually a freshman. He's going to be playing in the bowl game. Deion Colsey said he's coming back. I don't think he's going anywhere.
Yeah, so this Chris Mitchell last year had 1,100 yards, 64 receptions, 7 touchdowns. The year before that, he only had 348 yards and 23 catches. So he's a fifth year. He's played 20, 21, 22, 23. So, yeah, that's a good
like
pickup.
He was like a 2-3 star, whatever, coming out of high school. Who knows?
Three-star right now, trending upwards. As a transfer, he's 3, and prospect, he was 3. So it really didn't move up much after he got to college. And they're working on, I hear the Twitter's clamoring about that graduate student from Clemson, wide receiver as well.
Yeah.
I forget what his name is. They're looking at trying to pull him up too. So
I know we're trying to get a edge rusher from Duke that I heard about this week, and then we actually just picked up a defensive back, right, or a cornerback from
safety.
It was a safety from Arizona State.
Yeah, right here, Jordan Clark, safety from Arizona State. Let's see what his stats are here. Where's the ESPN? There it is. Yep. Wow, he played 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023. Woo! Total tackles, he had 50 tackles this year. He had 47 last year. 30 solo this year, 36 solo last year. 2 interceptions last year. One of them was for a touchdown. Nothing, no interceptions this year. So it sounds like he'll be a good, solid safety. And yeah, that's good. And then Braylon James going to TCU as well. Merriweather is going to UW. Joey Nona is going to Purdue, and that's it.
The other big news this week was Xavier Watts winning the Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah,
that's pretty
That
awesome.
was impressive. I didn't think he would get that because
the I don't even know how to pronounce it. The
Nene Award,
the Nagurski, is it Nagurski?
I'm not sure.
Nagurski Award, yeah, best defensive player in college football, named after Bronco Nagurski. All right,
yeah.
Well, and is he coming back to Notre Dame?
I think again. I don't know. I mean, these players, like I mentioned that one time. Somebody mentioned, with Estime, and this is something that we've got to. It's the new era.
Yeah, right here.
Is somebody gonna make more money staying in college?
Well,
with NIL than they are in college and pro, right?
You're the defensive. You're the top defensive player in the country. Where now you're weighing your options. That's what Xavier Watts is doing right now. So, he's weighing his options, and if he can be a first round pick, but again, like, don't the rookie contracts, aren't they like small to nothing, and then they got to wait and try to get the actually where the money is actually when you sign your first contract, your free agent contract. So
yeah,
I don't know. What happens if you play your senior year, you get hurt or whatever, you go on for another year because of the NIL, you're making money on the NIL and you get hurt. It ruins your whole career. You don't go to the NFL. I mean, it's a big risk. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's just new. I forget how many people did we see at one point. We had a number that we were sharing last week. How many players entered the transfer portal this year? It was ungodly, wasn't it?
Wasn't over 1,000,
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And like that one writer said that transfer portal's like the Hunger Games. He goes, it's just because you're at a Power 5 school and you're not digging where you're at or you're not playing, just because you go in the transfer portal, you're not going to get necessarily picked up by another Power 5 school. You may be, as soon as you enter the transfer portal and you're a fourth year player or something like that, you may be done. Some of these quarterbacks keep bouncing around. I mean, Ulele or whatever his name is, it went from Clemson up to, Oregon State. Now he's transferring again. So, Buckner, I don't even understand why he's entering the transfer portal for lacrosse. Why bother? I mean, were you playing professional lacrosse?
Oh, he's not going. It's not the portal. He's just returning to Notre Dame and playing lacrosse. Is it? Do you have to be in the portal to change sports?
Yeah,
I guess you do. Yeah.
Yeah, he entered the portal. He was enlisted in the portal on the first day, I think, because people thought he was. When he said he was entering the portal, they thought it was for football.
Right.
What was amazing, though, that I read is that he was recruited as an 8th grader for lacrosse by Michigan. So he was like one of the youngest players ever to get like recruited for lacrosse. And then there was some NCAA rule or something that happened to where they couldn't recruit kids that young or something like that. But yeah, so I just don't understand why you go back. He must not like Alabama as a school in general. Just play lacrosse at Alabama, wrap your college career up and be done with it. But
well, I think it's the only reason his sister goes and plays soccer at Notre Dame. So maybe, and he's probably got friends there too as well. You
think he wants to come back? Okay.
Yeah, I think he's going to come back and just kind of finish his career at Notre Dame where he started. I think he likes the university. The fact that his sister's there now, and and then he probably does have a lot of connections and friends. So
this is a long.
He's only has one friend at Alabama. You know that.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's a friend. His boss,
right?
Technically,
right.
This is a long shot, but maybe he looked over at Notre Dame and went, the only way I can get on the field at Notre Dame is if I become a member of the lacrosse team. Then they'll pick me up as a walk-on for the football team as a receiver, and then I can play receiver. I mean, that's...
Maybe. I mean...
No.
He's just... I don't know. I mean...
That's got to be the weirdest... Weirdest story, though. Play for Notre Dame, transfer to Alabama behind your offensive coordinator, and then bomb and transfer back to Notre Dame for lacrosse and end up playing lacrosse with some of the players that are on the football team. It's just
right.
It's just bizarre.
I liked Tyler Buchner when he came to Notre Dame. There was a lot of hype, obviously, behind him. He had injured himself in hye school, so
shoulder.
And he missed like majority of his junior or senior year. Yeah. So so when Notre Dame picked him up or was bringing him in, there was kind of some skepticism about whether or not he was going to be able to still play with that shoulder injury, and he actually his freshman year played well. Was it the sophomore year that he started and then he got hurt?
Yeah, blew out his knee or something like that. Yeah, he hit him.
So,
but or something.
It's the style of quarterback he is. He liked to run, and I think he liked to run more than he did throwing. But I liked him with his freshman year. I liked him when they would put him in those game situations where he'd come in and just get that first down on like a third down run or something like that. But almost like a Tim Tebow type of style,
Right.
But I don't know.
His release was weird too, because I think maybe because of his shoulder injury, but it was more of a flick, sidearm flick all the time. And it was super fast. I almost was curious because he never didn't get enough time in with the wide receivers. Is it possible they were just not ready for that quick release? In terms of timing on the routes and stuff, maybe. But
right.
We don't run routes now anymore. The offensive coordinator just go out there and run down the field, and that's kind of his offense. So
Xavier Watts is playing in the bowl game. Regardless if he's going to the NFL, he hasn't decided yet.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So he's definitely going to play in the bowl game.
So he's going to do, what's the guy from Indianapolis played for Notre Dame that one year against Ohio State? Hyperextended, blew out his knee, and he played for the Cowboys afterwards.
Jalen Smith?
Yeah, he's going to do one of those. Hopefully he doesn't get hurt like that, though, so I hate that. But
that was just a shitty-ass hit. Well, transfer portal for Notre Dame. I don't know what else they're trying to go get. Like I said, the edge rusher from Duke would be nice. Picking up some guys here and there. You got a safety from Arizona State. Need a quarterback. They want a quarterback. Now, here's the thing. And maybe we talked about this last week a little bit. Does this, when you keep getting quarterbacks, and it's, say Riley Leonard, who's, I think he's got like 2 more years of eligibility, right? Riley Leonard from Duke.
See, I thought he's only played 1 year. I need to look this up. And one of the Notre Dame writers posted, and somebody commented and said he's got 1 year left of eligibility. And I'm like, no, he has not played that long.
I think he's got 2. I maybe I'm wrong. But regardless, let's say you keep bringing in 1 year quarterbacks. Is it going to be difficult to keep quarterbacks on your roster, especially quarterbacks that you're recruiting, like a CJ Carr or a Minchie, like or who hasn't been seen? Will we ever see Minchie? I don't know. Kenny Minchie. And then who's the other guy that we're bringing in next year? McKnight.
Carr?
Well, Carr's coming in.
Yeah.
Carr's he's actually practicing with the team for the bowl game.
Yep.
He can't play. He's not eligible to play in the bowl game, but so he's got a heads up or whatever.
I don't think there's any other player coming in this early, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
so Riley Leonard's played 3 seasons, and why he's got so much hype is because last year he had 250 completions for 391 attempts 63.9% completion percentage, almost 3,000 yards completed, 20 touchdowns, and only 6 interceptions. So he had his bust a nut year, which I hate the writers. I hate all of football because you have a football player like that busts a nut like that, and automatically he's getting drafted number 1, and then he sucks ass, because of one great season,
right.
And he just doesn't get developed. Because this past year, now granted, he missed a few games and played partial games because of injury. His completion percentage went down to 57.6. He only had 1,100 yards passing. He only had 3 touchdowns, and he had 3 interceptions this year. Now, I don't care how many games he played. He still threw for a decent amount of yards. The 3 touchdowns worries me, and then he had just as many interceptions. So, again, I think Notre Dame's looking at the Candy Bowl, and they need to step back and look at the whole picture, or maybe just, or put Leonard on there. And you've actually pointed this out. I think everybody thinks, Riley Leonard's going to come in and be a starter. He may not be, but you need, I guess, some cushion because you need another quarterback in there maybe to soften the blow, maybe some veteran experience, maybe.
Yeah, because they put Angeli in, and and maybe he doesn't mesh well with, or if he just doesn't play well, whatever. And you got a guy like Leonard come in, and he can run. He's running quarterback, right? He's a big quarterback. How big is he? Do you have his
Who's that? Leonard?
Yeah.
He is 6'4", 212.
Yeah, big quarterback. And he can run. But, again,
you don't want him running,
quarterback. I know.
You need him to be able to escape. You need him to be able to escape. But here's the other thing that something I thought about this year. Do you remember at the beginning of the year, the big quarterback controversy with Alabama? Saban and Reese couldn't figure out which quarterbacks could go in. And all this
Paul Feinbaum was about to go in and take Tommy Reese and yank him out of Alabama. I mean, he was so pissed off.
And then look what happened.
I know.
Their quarterback, I think sometimes you just need to weather the storm. You need to get a quarterback in there that gets used to the speed of the game. And, you can practice with them all day long, but you get them in the game and all of a sudden something clicks and they start playing. And I think that's what sometimes these coaches don't do. They're afraid to do that.
Well, because
that Alabama quarterback is, if he would have played like that all year, he probably would have been higher up in the Heisman race. But it was just like the last few games that he really came, you could tell something clicked and he just lit it up.
So let me ask you this. Are we worse off now that Tommy Rees is gone and that we got Gerald Parker?
Yep.
I mean, were we complaining last year about Tommy, and what has he done this year?
I don't want Tommy back necessarily, but I guess what I'm saying is Tommy was bad, but not that bad. Tommy was stuck in Tommy was inexperienced, is the way I look at it. And this other guy we got now is inexperienced too, but even worse off, and maybe a little gun shy. I don't know.
All right. Well, that brings my next question. The playoff, the college football playoff. Playoffs. 4 teams. Michigan. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Who are the other teams?
Texas, Alabama,
Washington.
Mm-hmm.
The big news this week was Florida State being left out. The first undefeated Power 5 team to be left out of the playoffs. Do you agree with the playoffs committee's decision to leave a Power 5 out when they're undefeated? And when you're looking at the fact that their quarterback, who was obviously a really good player, got hurt, and now he's out for the entire season, and now you start to reevaluate how good this team is, even though they went undefeated. Does a team like Alabama, who loses a quarterback like that, do you do the same thing to Alabama? I don't know if you. I don't think you do. I don't think you do. I don't think you do. Some of these blue bloods that have been around for a long time. If you're telling me if Alabama's quarterback, who started the entire year, goes down and Tyler Buckner has to come in and say they were undefeated, would they leave Alabama out of the college football playoffs?
No.
And I think so. I think it's bullshit. And I think, I do agree you want to see the best matchup, but again, we all know that one of these teams are going to get left out of the conversation. Well, I think Alabama should have been left out. I mean,
we always complain about non-Power 5 schools that are undefeated not making it, like a TCU or something like that in the past. Now, who was undefeated this year? Was it Liberty and George Mason? That's pushing it a little bit. I mean,
well, they're not a Power 5, right?
No, neither is TCU, but at least they weren't back in the day.
Look at Florida State went in and beat Louisville for the conference championship.
Right, and they probably would have got demolished in the playoffs because they didn't have that quarterback. But you know what? Let them prove that on their own.
Right, you're right.
Until you just can't assume they're not going to be able to, perform at that level. It's not one person making that team. It's not like basketball where you got like Michael Jordan taking over the whole game.
Well, now there's news that that Florida State might jump ship with the ACC and try to get a spot in the Big Ten.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah. Because they're pissed off, and why wouldn't you? Why would you want to stay in a conference that can't even compete with the Big Ten as far as money payout for TV revenue? I think it was like $40 million per team.
Well, the other thing I heard too is that ESPN had a little bit to say in this, a little bit. I mean, there was some stuff from Herb Street.
A little collusion.
Well, because ESPN is SEC country. They're the SEC network, basically. And to not have an SEC team where they put all their money into in the playoffs, what are they going to do? And so that was their way to do that. And if you're going to put Alabama in, you had to put in Texas. So they said if Alabama wouldn't have beat, Georgia? Right? Georgia got left out too, right? If Alabama wouldn't have beat Georgia and Georgia would have won, then Alabama wouldn't have been in, Texas wouldn't have been in, and Florida State would have been. And so it just, I've heard a bunch of stuff like that. I don't know. Until you prove me wrong, put them in. They're undefeated.
Right. This is why you're expanding the playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you want to see some upsets. Right? You want to see those storylines play out. Florida State quarterback's hurt. They got the backup quarterback, and they end up winning the national championship or making it to the national championship game. That's the storyline you want. Who's tired of seeing a one-loss Alabama team make the championship? Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. They got to play Michigan. I mean, everyone's saying, Michigan's got the best defense in the country.
Yeah.
What if Alabama gets beat by 20? What do you say then?
Yeah.
Do you say that Florida State? Do you say that Florida State would have got beaten by 30, 40?
I don't. No, you don't know that. I don't think so.
You have no idea.
A couple things hot off the wire here. You mentioned Notre Dame should look at soccer team for a kicker because of the Dallas Cowboys soccer player that's now a kicker. They are looking at kicker Mitch Jeter. He's the best kicker in the portal right now. They're looking at him to bring him on board. So that's one. The other thing on the line is breaking 11 hours ago. Former quarterback, Notre Dame quarterback Tyler Buckner was spotted on Eddy Street with Sam Hartman yesterday, hanging out at looks like some restaurant on Eddy Street, confirming that he's back at Notre Dame to play lacrosse in spring.
Back in town.
Yep.
Well, here's the other thing. Notre Dame is in the national finals, right? The championship finals or whatever for soccer. They have some of the best soccer players around. So I think who did they play? Clemson? I think for the championship, is it tomorrow? I think I'm not sure.
What is it? Clemson.
No, Notre Dame is playing in the college football finals for soccer against Clemson.
Monday
Monday
against Clemson. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
I watched it last night. Yep, you're right.
Who they play? Oregon State. Did they play Oregon State in the semifinal and they won by 1-0 or something?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So good for them. I mean, hell, we just won the national championship in lacrosse. Now we got our soccer team. Now we just need a damn football team to get back into the playoffs. And I think next year, maybe, I don't know. I can't guarantee that at all. I have no idea what this offense is going to look like next year. We're going to play plenty of running backs. Should have some decent receivers, but a lot of guys left, like Rico Flores. I mean, talked about this last week, but obviously the podcast didn't air. So your thoughts, feelings about the receivers that left, two of the best or whatever freshmen, was it Braylon James and then Rico Flores being the leading receiver for Notre Dame as far as yardage goes, right? Gone up into the transfer portal. A lot of receivers.
I had one tweet. I should have saved it or something. They were talking about who they're all looking at in terms of position and stuff in the transfer portal. There's a handful of players, both on defense and offense, and I don't remember who said that.
All right, well, we're going to wrap up this one because I don't want this podcast to get screwed up like the other one did. But Notre Dame. We didn't really talk any basketball. Actually, as we're recording this, they got blasted by Marquette, which Marquette is just a great team. I think didn't Marquette get to no, they lost to Michigan State in the second round last year, I think, didn't they? Yeah, they did. But they're a good team, and they got blasted by Notre Dame. Notre Dame played okay here and there. They shot decently from 3-point, but they got into a huge hole in the first 10 minutes of the game. I think they were down by 20 with the first 8 minutes of the game. So Mekhi Shrewsbury, it's got a young team, and will they make it to the 10 victories that Clutch says they won't get over? I don't know. They're 4-5 right now, so luckily they play.
Those of you that watch Notre Dame basketball too, and if you know a little bit about basketball, just over break down Shrewsbury's jumper. I think that is the grossest looking jumper, and what makes it even grosser is that he's the coach's son. He had another play today where he was down low and the guy went down and just blew by him, and he was left in his shoes, and he wasn't even ready for the guy to go by. The guy dribbled right around him and laid it up or dunked or something like that. And I was like, dude, he was 2 of 8 from the field, 2 of 8 from 3-point land, 6 points, and played 33 minutes. And that's just garbage. Where the St. Joe kid had almost the same stats and played 10 minutes less than him. So anyways, I'll get off the soapbox.
No, you're right. Maybe once football is over with for the season here, maybe we can find some time to break down that shot and see what the hell he's actually doing. You mentioned there's no rotation on the ball, like he's pushing the ball up, and he doesn't look like he's squared up to the basket. A problem that I had when I was growing up, I never learned how to square my body up, so it means a lot. When you start squaring your body up to the basket, you're going to make a lot more shots.
Yeah, he's not doing that.
No.
Hot off the presses 4 hours ago, Notre Dame is expecting Duke quarterback Riley Leonard to announce his commitment on Monday. So Ohio State apparently was looking at him really hard too. They're going to look for somebody else.
I did hear that as well. Well, they're trying to stack their quarterbacks. Didn't they bring on? Did they bring Cam Ward? Who did they bring in?
They lost their main quarterback.
Well, I know they lost their McCord, but but sometimes that happens like for a reason. Like Ohio State said, "Hey, we're going into a different direction. You're not going to get any more playing time," and that's when quarterbacks jump into, or any player would jump into a transfer portal situation.
He's a starter though, and
I know.
Harrison said he's staying,
which makes no sense. Makes no sense. So again, you lose to Michigan. I mean, I don't know. Is the heat on Ryan Day to start producing? But these guys, man, they sometimes they just don't like. Maybe they didn't like who he was. I mean, he beat Notre Dame, had a great game-winning drive against Notre Dame to win the game in the last minute in South Bend. I don't know. I don't agree with it, but he's looking like he might go down and play in Nebraska. Maybe is what I'm hearing. And then, but I think I forget who Ohio State's looking at. If it's it might be Cam Ward from Washington State. So
yeah.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. Ohio State will find somebody. Anyways, let's wrap this podcast up. Clutch again. Thanks again for joining me, for another edition of Broish. Two brothers talking Notre Dame football. Notre Dame's got a bowl game coming up December 29th, 11 o'clock against Oregon State, the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. Okay, go Irish.
Go Irish.
I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed 'em. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for it.